What's the deal, YouTube? What's the deal, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So if you just got finished watching UFC 205, you watched a pretty good card. I won't say great card, but it was a pretty good card, with the highlight of the night being the highlight of the night to me was the Tyron Woodley versus Wonder Boy, which was one hell of a fight. And Wonder Boy definitely made a brand new fan with his toughness, his grit, and the fact that he was in a fucking guillotine choke and was able to get out of the guillotine choke, end up on the top, and end the fight in a with a in the round, getting punches in when it looked like the fight should have been fucking over with. Let's go through some of the winners and losers from tonight. We'll go over those real quickly, briefly, and then we'll talk more about the main event, which sees Conor McGregor make history with a huge victory over Eddie No Plan Alvarez. I just don't know what the hell the plan was. It was clear that he was outpowered. It was clear that his opponent had better power than him, had better reach than him, and he came out there and kept rushing in, get clipped. Just absolutely retarded plan from Eddie Alvarez. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I don't know what his corner was thinking. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know, like, how do you come out, you see something's not working, and you continue to do it anyway. This is the second fight in a row where I felt like Conor McGregor should have been put on the ground. That didn't happen. But let's go over. We'll go over some of these fights here. Raquel Pennington defeats Miesha Tate by unanimous decision. Yoel Romero defeats Chris Weidman in the third round with a big flying knee. JJ gets a win versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I hope I'm saying her name right, by unanimous decision in a fight that, if you watched it here, if you listened live here on my channel, JJ was swole the fuck up. I showed you images on the channel, so go back and watch that video if you didn't get to watch it. But yeah, JJ was swollen the fuck up. Tyron Woodley gets the win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And then they at first I don't know which buffer that is, so I'm not gonna say a first name. But at first he walked out. He was in the ring. He was in the octagon. Then he walked out, got the scorecard. He came back into the octagon, read the scorecard. They raised Tyron Woodley's hand, and then they went back and say, "Oh no, it was a majority draw." Like, they were confused as fuck. And I threw up the Steve Harvey shit on Twitter. Once again, if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure that you check me out on Twitter at KSUWELL. That is my Twitter handle. The main event was a lopsided victory for Conor McGregor over Eddie Alvarez, a second round TKO. I'm not going to say that it was too fast. If you're watching my live stream, I did say that it was too fast, but I don't know what exactly the exactly the referee was looking at. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what the ref saw or what he made his decision off of. I don't know if I wasn't able to see if Eddie Alvarez had his eyes closed. I'm not sure, but I felt like it was a little bit too close. If you see the position that Eddie Alvarez is in, it looks as if he's ready to defend. He takes a punch, but it looks like he is aware of what's going on. You can see it, even though he's knocked down on the ground. It does look as if he's aware of what's going on, and he's going to try to actively defend it. But the ref jumps in and stops it at this moment, allowing Conor McGregor to win his second title. So Conor McGregor is, I think they said he's the first one to actively hold both titles at the same time. I just want you to understand the magnitude of that accomplishment. This is, I mean, Anderson Silva didn't do this. BJ Penn didn't do this. Chuck Liddell didn't do this. John Jones didn't do this. George St. Pierre didn't do this. Matt Serra didn't do this. Captain America, I forget his damn name. Even though he did have two titles, he held the light heavyweight title and the heavyweight title, but he didn't do that either. But I mean, huge accomplishment for Conor McGregor. I take nothing away from him. I do feel like it was a little bit early. That's all I'm gonna say. And I'm not gonna, you know what? I'll take that back. I'm not gonna say that because I don't know right here what's going on with the eyes of Eddie Alvarez, because he dropped. It was a stupid game plan. He kept rushing in, kept getting countered. He got countered with the same punch over and over. He kept doing the same thing, following the same pattern. Even though he was moving around, taking his head off center, he still kept coming forward doing the same shit. So anyway, man, I want to go back through some of the earlier fights for those of you guys who did not get to check out any of the earlier fights. I want to go through some of the earlier fights because I don't want to be too fixated on just the main event, because the main event was the big draw, and I understand that, but there was more, there was more fights than just Eddie Alvarez versus Conor McGregor on the docket here. So I'm gonna go and take a look at that real quick. I'll go over some of those results for those of you guys who did not get to see it. By the way, tomorrow, of course, tomorrow I will be going through. We have Miami Dolphins versus San Diego Chargers. I have not had a Sunday off in a very long time, so I'll actually get to watch football tomorrow. All right, so for the Raquel Pennington versus Misha Tate, Pennington defeats Tate by unanimous decision, 29-28, 30. 27 times 2. Before that, Frankie Edgar fought Jeremy Stevens, and Frankie Edgar defeats Stevens by unanimous decision, 30-27 times 2, and 29-28. Michael Johnson versus Khabib. Khabib defeats Michael Johnson by submission at 2:31 of round 3. Belal Muhammad versus Vincent Luque. Luque defeats Muhammad by TKO. Liz Carmouche versus Caitlin Kalkagan. Carmouche defeats Kalkagan. Thiago Alves versus Jim Miller. Miller defeats Alves by unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, and 30-27. Tim Boetsch versus Rafael Nato. Boetsch defeats Nato by TKO punches at 3:22 of the first round. Once again, those were the early fights. The fight that came on earlier before our actual main card. But the fight that everyone is going to be talking about tomorrow and at the water cooler probably for the rest of the week was the downright inept showing of Eddie Alvarez. It was very clear to me watching this fight that Conor McGregor did not respect the power of Eddie Alvarez. He walked through everything that Eddie Alvarez threw at him, and it's he hits harder than probably everyone in the division. In order to beat him, you got to drag him to the deep waters. You got to wear him down. You got to take him down. He's one of those guys that just hits harder than everyone in the division. There's just certain guys like Anthony Rumble Johnson. If you stand in front of him, I don't give a fuck. Unless you're Daniel Cormier, you're gonna get knocked the hell out. And that's the same thing you see with Conor McGregor. He's just physically built in a way that he's able to destroy most of the opponents in these divisions, which is why I would love to see him fight Frankie Edgar. I would like to see that. I don't know if we're ever gonna see a rematch with Aldo. We might not ever see that. I wouldn't mind seeing Aldo get another crack at it because of how that fight ended with Aldo getting knocked the fuck out so early and so quickly. But yeah, man, it's not a good showing from Eddie Alvarez. It almost feels like the moment is cheapened. You know what I mean? When someone accomplishes something, when a person accomplishes something great, you kind of want to see them go through something to get it. When a person is getting ready to get a second title and be the first to make history, and this is how you make history, it feels cheapened. You know what I mean? It's like if Golden State was to set the record for the number of wins this year in basketball, it would feel cheapened because they have Kevin Durant and all of those guys. You see what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. It just feels weird. Like, yeah, you got it, but yeah, you didn't go through anything to get it. Anyway, man, big night for Conor McGregor. Congratulations. Big night for the UFC. I'll be very interested in seeing everyone in the morning thought to look like. The last fight was really disappointing, though. It was a really disappointing fight to me. I was very disappointed, incredibly disappointed that by the fact that the fight card, well, by the fact that the main event didn't live up to what I was expecting. I would have loved it if this fight would have been like a Diaz versus McGregor won, no matter who won, because it was exciting. It was back and forth. This fight was just, one guy throw a pity pat shot and the next guy knock him the fuck out. That's what we got. Our next fight that I'll be covering, hopefully, on my channel. Let's see here. What do we have coming up? Next fight, November the 19th, with the main card being Musasi versus Uriah Hall, Pearson and Ray. Not a very good card. But you never know with some of these cards. It might look like crap at first, and then it turns out to be great. Then after that, okay, you have same night, Bader versus Nogueira, Almeida versus Morales, Litis versus Joko, Alvarez versus Jusma. Another card that's not really that great. Then the 26th, Whitaker versus Bronson. Ugh. These are some. Uh, yeah, more Matthews versus Holbrook. Yeah, that's not a very good card either. Then December 3rd, which is less than a month away, Johnson is going to fight somebody, and they have it to be determined still. So we don't even know who he's going to fight. Jake Ellenberger's on that card. McMahon versus Davis. That should be a decent fight. Gray Maynard. I haven't seen Gray Maynard in a long time versus Hall. Coran versus Moyle. Wow. And then UFC 206 has, I'm going to show you what I'm looking at, by the way. UFC 206, which will take place on December the 10th, has Cormier versus Johnson, Holloway versus Sergio Pettis, Eterno versus Pereira, Dempsey versus Vonta, Dober versus Canino, Swanson versus Choi. This isn't a very good card either, to be honest with you. Oh, why the fuck is Donald Cerrone versus Brown way down here? Kennedy versus Evans. Why is that way down here? I don't get these two. These two should be up here somewhere, at least. I don't get that. Is that Mitch Gagnon? Yep, that's Mitch Gagnon. Yeah. Anyway, man, I will be back with you guys, and we'll talk about it. We'll chat it up. Tell me what you feel about this event, about Conor McGregor winning. He made history, but does it feel cheap to you that he didn't really go through anything to win? I just want to know. What do you think? Don't think it was too fast? He was taking so much damage in the first round, then the second, and took 4 shots on the way down, didn't take more shots. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Like I say, I don't know if I wasn't able to look at the eyes of Eddie, so I don't know if he was out or because in the end, it looks like he was ready to defend it. And if you watch the fight before that with Wonder Boy versus versus Tyron Woodley, he took way more damage than Eddie Alvarez. I mean, he was almost choked to sleep, and getting, absolutely destroyed with hundreds of punches. But the ref allowed it to continue to go. So it just, I don't know. It's sometimes you look at it and you go, all right, it's gonna not be based on the rules of the sport, but more so based on who the ref is and how fast the fight gets called. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be based on the rules of the sport. If the rules of the sport said this is stoppable, this is the criteria for a fight being stopped, then that should be the rule, rather than, all right, this ref is gonna call it like that. And I know it's human. We're all gonna look at things differently, but I think there should be a set criteria as far as what gets a fight stopped and what allows it to keep going. But like I say, I can't see his eyes. I don't know what the ref is looking at when he says, you know what, let's call this fight. Especially since the previous fight was so much damage given out. I don't know. Anyway, man, I'm going to finish and wrap this up. Tomorrow we will be talking Dolphins Chargers. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter at Casual, at KASUWELL, and I'm out of here. Peace.